I like to think of myself as someone who respects hard work, and I think that hard work should be in turn rewarded. Apart from when I was given a review copy of Stories, because it was at that point that I jumped at the chance of not actually having to pay for it. Damn, my one and only weakness. I may be cheap and I may be a loser, but I'm also a cheap loser. So with that being disclosed, Stories and the Path of Destinies is a fucking horrible name. It might as well be called Adventure Path of Quests. Ladies and gentlemen, that was my annual irate gamer joke. The game centres around an anthropomorphic fox as he embarks on his quest to take down an evil empire. Honestly, what drew me to this game originally was that it looked like one of those really cool Van Helsing action RPGs, which I also happen to love. But instead of being set somewhere depressing, it's set in one of those really cool worlds where everyone's a cute animal but a frog incarnation of Adolf Hitler is killing everyone. But yeah, the art style is a little bit completely gorgeous. And so are the graphics overall when you can actually see what's going on all the way down there. But I guess that's appropriate because the entire game plays out like a storybook being read to us by a narrator. A narrator that tries so hard to be wacky and entertaining but isn't. I'm pretty sure he quoted Star Wars at one point. I can't remember, I blocked him out because he does not shut up.
This chest contained a Vorpal sword. I'm just kidding. Vorpal swords don't exist.
But hey, a narrator that did shut up probably wouldn't work, so what the fuck do I know? Speaking of not being able to shut up, like I said earlier, the game tries to pull off being an action RPG. And for an action RPG, the combat looks in-depth, but in reality actually only uses one button, which is great if you're an idiot, but after a while, even with me being the biggest idiot, I start to wish it was more. I mean, sure, it tries by having craftable and upgradable swords, but they can look as good as they want. In reality, all they actually do is just open different types of gate. There, I said it. The skill points, although they are a tiny bit more in depth, feel like they're only there so that the game can just about barely call itself an RPG. Because it is only barely just managing to be an RPG, and although still it's not as pathetic as Undertale's attempt to be an RPG, it's still pretty low. Wow, it's all coming out in this video, Jesus. It tries to play the skill points off like your character has just somehow remembered them, which doesn't slide too well with me. Could you not have maybe remembered them that time where you nearly fucking died? That probably would have helped the whole situation a lot better. The soundtrack is pretty grand and exciting. I'd say it's worth listening to outside of the game as long as you're fully prepared for your dad to come in and laugh at you. There is a lot of good in this game, which is why it's a shame that it's all brought down by how the story plays out. I came into this game expecting it to play like any normal action RPG, wherein you pour 30 hours into it and still somehow manage to feel like you're only in the starting area. But to my surprise, instead it ended up playing out a lot more like the Stanley Parable. Yeah, wherein you play shorter separate stories based on the choices you make and you're meant to get your game time through multiple playthroughs. Yeah, no, I'm alright thanks. And this is where I personally lost all interest, because in knowing this I began to find it hard to slow down and really take in the environment, because I knew that I'd have to be running through them again later anyway. Suddenly every choice I made lost all its meaning, because I knew that 20 minutes later I'd be making the opposite choice anyway. So yeah, I guess you could say that I'm not a huge fan of that aspect. But overall the game is nice. It's a nice game, nothing truly original and groundbreaking and nothing laughably awful. It just sits there and is a disappointment. Like me.